Hey guys, welcome back to another great game of CDH. Before I start the video, I want to thank all of our subscribers as we just hit 3,000. And to celebrate, I'll be holding a small giveaway to one of our lucky subscribers. And you may ask what the prize is? Well, it's a pack of custom dragon shields with our sick logo and one of the new Kamigawa Neon Dynasty commander decks to go along with it. I'll have the entry link down below along with the full list of rules. I am sorry, this giveaway is limited to the United States, but who knows, maybe if the channel keeps growing, I'll be able to expand it. But guess it's time to get back to the video, as today we are joined by more of our Discord members. Also, if you're interested in playing with us, hop on our Discord. We have an ever-growing community and we'll love to talk MTG or whatever strikes your fancy. And another benefit is we often let people know when we play and would love to meet some new people. Alright, block there. Kill that. Oh, that is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board. Starting us off is English, and one of his favorite decks that he's been wanting to show off. Kroxa is a Rakdos World Gorger list that aims to use Kroxa to not only limit his opponent's resources by stripping their cards out of their hand, but also as an outlet when comboing off with the dragon. Next up is Darkmoor, and while he's still newer to CEDH, he did bring a list he's been trying out. Vaevictis as Madi is a Jund Creatures Matter strategy that hopes to assemble a few different combos, while using Vaevictis as not only a big scary dragon, but also as a repeatable Chaos Warp type effect. And while this list does need some more tuning, once it gets going, oh boy can it really steamroll a table. In the third spot we have Eduardo playing Kess. This is Stormcast, and it's a fast Grixis list that can storm out of basically nowhere. Not only is Kess a great defensive blocker, but her ability to flashback cards gives a lot of card advantage, and can really take over if left unchecked. And bringing up the rear we have Hidden and his Mighty Morphin Dwarf Rangers, with Magda at the helm. This is a mono-red combo list that used Magda's insane ability to generate lots of treasures, to not only ramp, but search out key artifacts, and oh boy can it win quickly. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay. English starts off the game with a tapped Smoldering Marsh. Darkmoor has a command tower and starts off with a turn 1 Monkey.
Monkey.
Eduardo plays and cracks a Verdant Catacombs for an untapped Watery Grave, which is then used for a Soul Ring. Still not done, he pays 2 life for a Gitaxian Probe on Darkmoor, who reveals his hand and Ed draws. Hidden has a Cavern of Souls naming Dwarf. He then exiles a Simian Spirit Guide for a red and uses it to power out a turn 1 Magda before handing the turn over. English untaps and goes into the tank about what his plan should be. He decides on his course and casts a Mox Diamond, discarding a snow-covered mountain. He doesn't have another land, but instead ends his turn casting a Dauthi Voidwalker. Darkmoor untaps and has a forest as land. He goes to combat and sends the monkey at Ed, who takes a hit and reveals a swamp. Darkmoor gets his treasure, but ultimately ends his turn there. Ed untaps and laments the Dauthi on the board. He plays an untapped training center and uses it to preordain. He bottoms both cards and draws. Although after seeing what he drew, he wished he had it before the preordain, but ultimately bites the bullet and pays 2 life into a Toxic Deluge to wipe the board clean. Hidden starts off with a Prismatic Vista, which he cracks for a snow-covered mountain. The land is then tapped for a Faithless Looting, that Hidden honestly thought would just be a dead card after seeing the Voidwalker. He draws and discards 2, but ends his turn after that. English still hasn't found another land, and seeing how well the Dauthi shut down Kess, he casts an Animate Dead, targeting his own graveyard. The Voidwalker comes back, but at his end step, Darkmoor braids the walker back to the graveyard. Darkmoor untaps and has a mountain as land, and turns out he wanted the Dauthi for himself, as he also casts an Animate Dead to bring back English's Voidwalker. Ed on his main phase casts a Mystical Tutor.
Really hope this is Mystical Tutor for Lightning Bolt.
Oh no, I tapped the wrong land. Can't even Lightning Bolt. I tapped my Training Center instead of my Watery Grave. Okay, second choice.
Should chain of vapor the Dauthi back to my hand.
No, not happening. No, not letting that happen. I don't think I'm going to get snapback.
He ends up selecting a Snapback to go on top, but then fires off a brainstorm to draw 3 and put 2 back, following that up with an island. Hidden has an ancient tomb as land, and then casts a soul guide lantern.
Oh no! I can't! Oh, there's no point. There's no point of snapping Dothy no more.
The lantern resolves, and on ETB exiles Ed's Git probe. English casts a Kroxa.
We're gonna exile this underworld breach that seems terrible.
Darkmoor untaps and is a simple turn, casting a Temur Sabertooth. Head still hampered from the graveyard hate, draws and passes. Hidden also decides to play the long game and just taps 1 for a Dwarven Grunt. English draws and plays a Blightstep Pathway. He's also annoyed about the Dothy, as just casting Kroxa would really only feed it. And at his Edstep, Ed hardcasts his Snapback, although honestly he wasn't really sure what he should be bouncing, as the Dothy is really hurting his game plan, but would just go back to English. And on the other hand, if he targeted the Sabertooth, he also was worried the Dothy would stay, and the Sabertooth would just be recast, not really setting back Darkmoor that much. Ultimately, he does decide to bounce the Sabertooth, with Darkmoor taking the opportunity to crack the Dothy to cast Ed's exiled Mystical Tutor. And surprisingly, Darkmoor just grabs a Kodama's Reach to put on top. Darkmoor untaps and casts the Tutored Ram spell. He gets a mountain to the field and a swamp to hand. He plays it as land, but hands the turn over after that. Ed starts with a mountain as land and casts his commander Kess. The commander resolves and Ed then flashes back his Mystical Tutor, searching out an Adnos to the top. And at his end step, Hidden casts Find Some Prisoners to exile the top 3 of Ed's library. He chooses to exile the Adnos, and Hidden hopes it'll draw the land he needs to be able to cast the exiled Adnos. Hidden untaps and draws, but doesn't find the land to cast the Nas. Yeah, the Adnos is gone, and unfortunately it's gonna stay gone. And while the cheeky Adnos is gone, he does opt to recast Magda, taking 2 off his Ancient Tomb. Combat is then had, and he sends his Dwarf at Darkmoor for 2 damage and a treasure off Magda. English untaps and plays an Exotic Orchard as land. A Cabal Ritual then comes out for some mana, and with the Dothy now gone, Kroxa comes out. The Titan resolves, with everyone discarding a card, and the Titan sacrificing itself and going back to the command zone. But he's not gone for long, as English's extra floating mana helps him recast the Titan again, to the annoyance of the table. Everyone discards again, with the Titan going to the graveyard this time. Darkmoor, hoping to recoup some of his lost card advantage, casts a Vizier of the Menagerie, but is done after that. Another downside of the Kroxa shows itself as Ed casted Jeska's Will, but English has the most with only 3 cards. And Ed then exiles the top 3, showing 2 lands and a Mystic Remora. He casts the Remora and then flashes back the Will for another 3 red and 3 cards, exiling another 2 lands and a Grim Tutor. And what's even worse, he doesn't even have the black mana needed for the tutor, and has to hand the turn over from there. Hidden untaps and plays another snow-covered mountain. He heads to combat, sending his dwarves at English as payback, and another 2 treasures. On his second main, Hidden casts an Imperial Recruiter to go and search out a dockside, which is then cast, netting him 4 treasures, putting his treasure count to a total of 7, which is unfortunately 1 shorter than he needs to actually combo out. So instead, Hidden opts to build out his board a little more by sacrificing 5 treasures to search out a Curse Mirror to enter as another copy of Dockside for 4 more treasures. He then sacrifices another 5 treasures to get the clock and hope it sticks till his next turn. English untaps, but is 1 card short of getting Kroxa out of the graveyard, and decides to just leave his mana open. Darkmoor draws, and then looks at the top of his library. He doesn't see anything good, and instead casts an Urabrask to Hidden, then heading to combat and setting the Vizier and Urabrask at Hidden for 7. Ed untaps and pays for his fish. He debates flashing back his Snap to bounce Magda, but ultimately decides to just pass, and at his end step, English pays quite a bit of life to Fire Covenant to clear the board and give Ed a card off the fish. Hidden does untap with his clock, but not much else, as he just uses his mana recasting Magda. English now has enough cards to escape Kroxa, and on ETB forces everyone to discard another card. Darkmoor pays 3 for a combat celebrant, but doesn't have much else and passes. Ed untaps and keeps the fish alive. He has an island as land and pays 2 for a Wishclaw talisman, but decides to just hold back for now. Hidden starts off with 3 mana for a morph creature, which does resolve after quite a bit of debate on what the morph could be, and after realizing the Wishclaw can only be activated on Ed's turn. Hidden then unmorphs the Proteus machine, naming Dwarf, and with this he can create infinite tapped treasures, using the clock and his artifact Dwarf. And for those that don't know the combo, the clock taps 2 artifacts to untap another. When the Dwarf is tapped, Magda produces another treasure, allowing for you to now use the untapped Dwarf and the new treasure to tap it again for another treasure, to untap the Dwarf and repeat the process. Magda doesn't care if the treasures are tapped, and can now grab every artifact out of Hidden's library, and then begin to cycle a Pyrite Spell Bomb, with the help of an Elixir of Immortality to shovel itself back in, and with the help of Zorn to create infinite treasures and mana to pay for the activations, winning him the game. Game review. Man, I did not think Hidden was going to get there. Leaving the clock on the table is super risky, and luckily for him, he was able to keep the Proteus machine in his hand, even though English was trying his hardest to empty everyone else's hand with Kroxa. But unfortunately, English was a little short in a few different aspects as the game progressed. He did show after the fact he had a dual caster mage and twin flame in hand, but never had enough mana or another creature to target with the twin flame to win. And speaking of unlucky, Eduardo really just couldn't stabilize with all those deterrents to Kess. And when his Adnos got stolen, that really did seal the deal. But again, I want to thank our players, as this was a fun game, and hopefully we'll get some more in the future.
Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you know that we have a TCG affiliate link, and if you ever see a card you want to try or are inspired to brew something new, use our link when purchasing and we'll receive a small portion of the sale. This is a great way to support the channel, and if you enjoyed the gameplay, please leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps us keep making videos. And remember, never give up, even if you're dead on board. I'll see you guys later.